And here we are.
Are we live?
Yes, we are live
Hey.
now. Thanks. Took a little bit for us to get up and going, but we're here finally. And
Uh, the
weird.
important thing is that we are here.
The important thing is that we
That's
were here.
in 2020. The important thing is we're here. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. What I have up is SpeedTree 9. If you guys have hung out with us at SIGGRAPH and watched our new video, we have an all new modeler coming out very soon. And I am just going to be building the white birch today, and we're just going to take this thing from start to finish. I'm going to show you some of the new features, and this is what I've built up so far without the leaves on it. We're just going to start brand new over here in another window. So it's our first live feed. We'll see how it goes. And I should have introduced ourselves, but my name is Sarah Scruggs, and this is Danny down below me. And his last name is actually Oaks, which is just an added cool feature for being a tree
It's
dude.
true. I am a living pun. This was my ultimate destiny.
Yeah, he's here to answer any of your questions that I can't read because I'm rolling. So the first thing I want to show you in SpeedTree 9 is we have an all new mode. So you're familiar with SpeedTree and you build everything in generator mode. You can make small adjustments and fine tune the branches in node mode, and we now have freehand mode. I'm just going to add a trunk in here and show you around a little bit. Freehand mode lets you do quick adjustments and everything after you finish made the tree, so you can slide these guys around and build this way. It also lets you do paintable displacements. If you want to sculpt the sky, you can actually go in here, hold the spacebar down, and you'll have a little gizmo that comes up. You can change the size of the sky by dragging and clicking. It's very intuitive. And then do a very basic sculpt in there. You don't have many polygons. It's not very pretty. So we will be using these tools today. And the second thing we're going to be using is we have added some things to our photogrammetry tool set. Go back to generator mode. So the first thing we want to do is we are going to bring in a mesh that we're going to be building off. We have a scan of a birch, and this is going to be a VFX level tree. So I'm bringing in this very, very high OBJ. It's going to grab that, and if you have it named correctly, it should bring all your high, medium, and low in. Because we are building different resolutions, we're going to go ahead and bring in the medium, and we're going to go ahead and bring in the low. And that should get it started. And so with our mesh in, we need a material to go with it. And so our material bar, we're gonna go in here and hit add. And I have everything organized: bark, clusters, leaves, mesh. It's gonna be in the mesh folder, and we're gonna bring in the base color. And our normal. Just to get started there, I've got some other maps to load in, but we're gonna go ahead and assign a mesh cutout. That's the thing that we just brought in. And now we should be ready to go. So, just like our regular photogrammetry workflow, I don't know if you've seen the videos on those, we're gonna be using the templates in the photogrammetry folder here. And I'm gonna go ahead and put my mesh into the scene. I'm gonna start it on the origin there because I started it not quite centered. And we're gonna assign a material to this. It's gonna be our trunk that we just brought in, and it's ginormous because we didn't resize this or anything ahead of time. So we're gonna go ahead and bring this down to a workable size. I'm gonna hit mesh, and we're going to go to scale and go ahead and shrink that guy. And that looks okay for a little forest tree. I'm gonna make it a little smaller just because they're not really so chunky. Even according to the little man here. that is a little bit more like a white birch tree that you might see in the forest. Okay, we want to go ahead and bring in the rest of our maps. I'm going to bring in the AO real fast, and we have a gloss map to bring in. On this one, it's a roughness. Just depends on how you process the tree. So when you do have the roughness map in there, you actually just hit this little invert checkbox, and these guys are the inverse of each other. This is a pretty dark gloss map, and one of the first things I do before I get started is go ahead and make sure that this guy is all set up PBR-wise the way I would like it. Now, one of the first thing I check is to make sure that this color map is actually within a good range. In the render mode, we go to, excuse me, the albedo check. Give it a second there. There we go. And you can see that this map has very, very white parts in it. And we might be getting a little bit of information lost in there. So the first thing I want to do is actually kind of bring this guy down a little bit. And get it within the range there. Pink is fine. White is blown out white. And so this tree is a very, very white bark, and it's okay to have a little pink. But that will help color loss up in the top there. I'm gonna go back to standard mode, and we're gonna play around with the normal a little bit. And just make sure this is just nice and sharp. We don't want to go too sharp because it's going to start to look like Photoshop outline. When we check our gloss, I like to go to the specular, lighting, specular, and one of the things about working in here is checking this out. We want to look at what highlights when this turns. So in real life, a bark is not all that glossy. We don't think of that as a glossy surface, but we want this to be able to catch all of the fake light that we're throwing on it, and this is just too dark right now. And we don't want to we don't want to blow anything out to where we're lost of information in here. I'm just going to raise this up a little bit, and I'm going to make this value a little bit higher. I'm gonna put this on like a 2.5. That's still not there yet. All right, now we've got some of this good detail in here, and we got a little bit glossier up here. And when I move the light around the tree now, we're gonna get a really good highlight on one side. In some cases, I might go a little brighter than that. We're gonna see what that looks like in the regular mode again. And it just helps it pop a little bit, makes it a little more 3D. Okay, so that brings us to our very brand new conversion tool, and it's going to be in your templates, Photogrammetry. It's going to be the mesh converter. We're going to go ahead and add one to the scene, and it needs to be connected to your mesh. And there's a couple of different things that we can do with this. See, it adds down there. This tool lets us grab textures from our mesh. So we're going to be grabbing two from this one. We're going to grab one from this white area, and we're going to grab one from this rough area. The mesh converter will also set up a stitch if you want to make an extension from this, or it will convert the entire thing into a SpeedTree branch. So let's take a look at what happened here. It's got two buttons, a top and a bottom. You're going to grab these things just like a gizmo, and you can move these around. But easier than that, you can hold down the T and place on the mesh, and it's going to automatically center and align these things. So a lot less manual maneuvering like our stitch, where you have to get it into place and where it has to actually touch the mesh to find it. This guy just is fast and simple. The bottom, I'm going to raise it up just a little bit. And this orange area in here is our blend section. And if you press on the pink, this is going to display the texture that you're about to make. And this orange section represents this blend piece up here. And this is how we get a tiling texture out of this. Now on this tree, because there's such a difference between the top and the bottom, This isn't going to make a good tiling texture because you're going to have this whole thing repeating the whole way through. So what we want to do is move the bottom up and see if we can get this in a good place where this texture is good to use. Didn't do a bad job of picking a place right there. Oh, when you set up this, everything up here in the properties is for getting the alignment and the area correct, and everything down here has to do with the blend piece. So just making sure we're good. Go and pause for a second there. There we go. I was catching up on the comments for a second there. All right, so this is a fairly straight trunk that we're showing you. So this aligned very easily. You'll notice that these points along the spine, if I had a curvier trunk, they might not be very aligned. So something like putting extra points in there will help it try to find that out. If you have places where these points are overlapping because you're even curvier, you can relax them a little bit and it's going to try to straighten them back out. It's probably better demoed on a curvier branch, but this one's actually fairly easy to set up. The more points you add in there, the slower it will run. So if you don't need them, I mean, why add them? The clearance is going to be how far away this is, and you should see that. So that would clip my texture. And so I've got these little pieces hanging off of the side of the trunk there. I want to make sure to include those. All right, on this branch, I'm going to pick a different blend. I kind of want the chunky one because the pieces are so cut out. If you want to view this on its own, you can just go to blends only and see what we're actually adjusting there. This is going to let you shift the pattern, repeat it if it's a very tight pattern. Probably don't need all of that. And then when you adjust the blend range, you need to make sure you have enough on your mesh in order to have this area in here, but I can lengthen this or lower it. If you go too far, you'll notice that the area is cut off square there, so you need to make sure you're within the actual range there. So this should do a pretty good job. We're going to go back to looking at both of them, and I might even move it up a little bit. I might stretch it out a little bit more, see if that works. And just taking a little second to get it exactly where I want it. And we're gonna go down to the bottom now. You can blow this up if you need to look at it high res. So right there might be a little problem area I want to get rid of. Got kind of a like hard line there. I'm just gonna repeat my pattern and see if I can get it in a nicer spot there. I might try a couple different pieces. So that last one was cutting it out a little too harsh. I think this actually works. I'm going to stick with this one. I'm going to make my resolution a little higher. So I'm going to go to 8192 just to make a really, really big bark because I'm going to be using this one all the way up the tree. It's kind of a short bark, so you're going to see some repeats in it pretty fast, but we have a solution for that. And then when you have everything ready, we are going to go export. Excuse me, export the map is going to send it straight to your folder. Make new material is going to send it to your folder, and it's going to go ahead and load it in for you. So we're going to do this one. And we're calling this a silver birch. There's lots of birches in the world. We are going to go ahead and just say this is bark 1. Oh, this will take several seconds. Just a heads up, when you push the button is magic, but you have to be very patient.
Sorry, I'm being real quiet over here.
It's okay. How's it going in the comments section? I can't see anything going on down there.
It's going good. I'm trying to keep up.
Oh, man, that's fast.
Yeah,
This has finished.
So,
oh, yeah? Oh, do we have any questions so far, I guess?
Yeah, we've had some questions about ivy. People want to see kind of how to make ivy or vines. And then there's also some questions about clusters.
Okay. This video is predominantly going to be a VFX video. We're doing like some basic photogrammetry to get like a base tree. We are going to have another video on vines. We actually overhauled the entire vine system. So if you guys remember collections from V8, they've redone them and you can do a whole lot more with them. They're faster and they're easy to work with. So we're going to do a whole video devoted to that, hopefully soon. And for the cluster lighting and anything games related, I'd like to keep that sort of in a games video because that is a whole nother rabbit trail on itself. I think that would take me probably a couple hours. We are going to take this same birch tree and make a games version of it next, but not in this little session probably, but we hope to do more of these.
Yeah, anyone in the comments, just feel free to let us know what else you'd like to see us do in these videos, and we'll try to schedule them out in the future.
Yeah. I guess we didn't like completely go over our theme. We're winging it here. We're not professional streamers.
This is professional. This is as professional as it gets.
We'll try. And,
it's just organic.
Yeah. All right. So that instance saved just now. I'm going to just dive back in. And you'll see it in your materials now. So that was Birch Silverbark 1 that we just created. You can see it. Bring it up now. Yep. The computer might need a second. There we go. All right, brought it in, and that's what our new material looks like. And it's got all those goodies in there. And we're going to be using this in just a second. So now that we've made a material for the upper part of this tree, one of the things you could do is take this converter and push this convert to trunk, and that would make a tiny SpeedTree branch and that you could keep going. You could say convert in place and it would add a stitch right up here. I'm going to show you, but we're going to not build our tree that way. So I'm going to run this and it's going to take just a second and I'm going to show you what it looks like. So bear with me there. This is going to be... and then we're going to turn around and delete it so I can show you the way that I would actually like to approach this tree. So we added lots of options in there and there's lots of different paths for what you can do. This is a really great tool, this convert in place, for when you have more of the branch to use as a tiling texture than not. So you're going to have to look at each mesh that you have and decide what route to go for what you're building, basically. And so many people saying hi. I'm impressed. There we go. All right, and this magic tree just has an extension now. And this is a special stitch, one that you can't make manually. We did all the hard work for you, and now we have a SpeedTree on top that you can go ahead and extend and do whatever you want with. Now, because we had such a short area that we made that texture from, you can see this repeat happening a lot. So we fixed that by going to spline properties and we twist it. And that would hide that little flappy thing that's kind of giving us away there. It's not bad. You can still see it kind of going up there and can do some more work on it. I was going to show you the big stitch, but we might as well go ahead and, you know, it doesn't look that bad. I thought we were going to have too short of a space there to get it going, but let's go ahead and keep building on it. So One of the first things I do after I get the trunk in place and happy and ready to go is we no longer need our mesh converter, so that's why it's hidden. We want to go get some cool images of the tree that we're about to make so we have a good idea of what we're doing. And so I've already pulled those up in a tab for us. And one of the first things I do is I find like 7 or 8 photos that I'm going to be referencing. What we want to look in these are the shape of the main branches, which is what we'll be making next. I like to find black and whites of the winter tree because this helps you figure out how things are put together. So looking at this tree, I can tell the start angle, I can tell that there's some splits going on in here, and I can kind of tell the pattern that we need the branches to copy. I also like to find a good picture of what we actually want the bark to look like PBR wise, and our scan's pretty spot on here for being able to use that. I found some other pictures in here just for different areas. Like I like to look at tree in the actual forest area, like what that tree would look like on its own, how sparse it is, that kind of thing. Color variations, and I do a lot of far back pictures so I can figure out how the leaves actually cluster. So we'll be referencing these to make our generic silver birch. I liked this image because you can see that the branches actually change color in the upper canopy. So we actually might reuse our darker bark up there. One of the first things to be, I'm going to use an absolute value for this because in the trunk, when we hit that randomization button, a little bit of variation in here is good, but it's good to keep it within the actual species height. We're going to make one that's not overly large and just keep it going up there. And first thing we want to do is get the shape of this main guy down correctly. And somebody's commenting that it's magic. And yes, you're right. It's very fun. All right, so we want to get the shape of this guy right. So we're going to go to properties and hit skin and radius. And we're going to use the profile curve to bring down the end of the branch. I do want to extend this guy at the end. I'm actually going to make it a little bit bigger up there. And we're going to go ahead and add our second tier branches. I like to do the trunk and the next tier of branches together before I start adding any noise, so I can really get the shape of the tree down before I start messing it up. One of the things I want to do is I've got a lean going on, and I don't mind that there's a lean, but these trees tend to veer up towards the sky pretty hard. And so I'm going to go to spine gravity. I'm going to push that back up so it kind of aligns with the back with the sun. And we want to go to our templates. I'm going to add a simple branch, and it's going to add 1 for me. And let's talk generator styles for a second here. I tend to use interval for almost the entire bottom part of the tree. It's just easier to control, it's mathematically correct, and if I can change the height up and down, and because I have intervals set, it's doing those measurements from the tip of the branch, and it's going to be able to fill in, and you'll get less wonkiness. And wonkiness is a totally acceptable word. So, how are we doing, Danny?
We're doing good. Just to recap, a couple of the important vocabulary words that we've heard today. Ginormous is actually the SpeedTree official unit of measurement. And wonkiness is a term that we use internally to describe anything that is technically undefinable, as nature is in itself undefinable. So,
Deep. All right. Our template there just added 1 branch on. So when we go to generator styles, I'm going to switch this to interval. Phyla ataxy is what we use in the upper part of the tree for getting our leaves and stuff right. So interval is my friend. We want on this tree, let's go back to our reference photo for just a second. We want a pretty shallow start angle, and we want a spread branch, and we want several main branches, but not too many. This low V thing is something that happens that I kind of like. So these main branches are going to be kind of sparse. I only want like maybe 3 of them. We're going to go ahead and change the start angle first, just so I can get a feel for that, and then go back to interval. And I really want, I'm just going to stick with 3. I don't really want them to align with one another very well. I don't need that many, and I kind of want them to be stocky. I like to keep clamp to parent, so it doesn't, if you have this off and you aren't thinking about it, you'll get something terrible looking. And so clamp to parent is because I don't want to think about it, I just want it to be the appropriate amount of thickness. These are going to be a little longer because they're their main branches. And now we want to start adding in our things to really shake up the look of it. So I still have too many probably. I might push up the first a little bit. I don't know. I like them down there. And then we want to make sure that they're kind of rotated around the tree so we get the look of fullness. And one of the things I do often is I put some variation in the rotation, and I put some variation in the position. And that's going to help us look a little bit more organic. Another thing that I do quite often is we never want them to be all the same start angle. And so I've got a little bit of variation here, but I'm going to bump it up just a little bit more. And we're also going to do just a little bit of variation in the start rolls, just kind of adding a twist. The start angle is this motion going back and forth, and start roll is completely new. It's changing. Oh, I wish I had like a draw tool. Okay, we'll do it with my arms. We'll do start angle, and it's doing like this. You probably can see. All right, we want to go ahead and turn on the extend parent for this guy. I'm gonna say any. And that is my extension right here. Before it ended, it was chopped off for the whole thing there. That's going to help us out. I'm probably going to have extend parent on for everything as I build out. And I think I might just go ahead and kill a couple more branches just because. Okay, so to get the shape of our tree, we're going to go to the length, and we're going to start using our parent curves and curves. We want the branches at the bottom to be longer to make a canopy sort of shape. So I'm going to go ahead and grab, I'm going to use the person and the parent for this one, and we're going to say that according to the branch, which is actually our trunk in this case, because there's a stitch and a mesh down here, I'm going to make the ones at the bottom of the tree a little longer. I don't need all these points. We can delete them. We're going to do sort of like a round canopy for this. And your basic main branches are very important for the overall shape of the tree. Basically, like if you have a round tree, you would want these guys to kind of go out in a round shape. They are pretty crucial. Now, I left these kind of short, even though the branches itself, if you look at the picture, these guys go out all the way, but I left them short because I want to add a split at the end of these guys. And since I've got a pretty good start going, I'm gonna hit save. It's a good thing to remember every now and again. And I'm laughing at some in the comments. Sorry about that. We're going to go ahead and add our second set of branches here. I'm just going to add the same template I did before. And instead of shaping these, one is actually probably fine for right now. I want to say put the extension onto any. And we're going to go to the branches we just made. And I'm going to go to skin. And I'm going to turn on splits, and I'm just going to put up because I have not wrapped the UV tile enough. So you're going to go to UV, and we're going to change this up here. We're going to say 2 absolute with 1 relative, and that's going to give us a nice odd ratio of things that can split or not split. And you'll see there's my split right there, kind of tiny. So these guys probably get small a little too fast. I'm going to make my split area a little chunkier by going to the radius and grabbing the end of the curve, the end of the profile curve, and making it a little bigger so that my splits have a little beefiness to them. One of the things that'll kill your tree really fast as far as realism is if all these things are the same width around. So I like to go in and add to the radius pretty early on some variation, and then make them a little skinnier at the top. So this is going to be according to the branch. I'm going to make them a little smaller towards the top of the tree. Now, one of the things that is pretty obvious now is that that texture is not going to look too great for us wrapped twice. So what we want to do is replace that with another wrapped texture. I have textures. You can use a texture from SpeedTree or make another one from the rest of this guy. I'm going to use a longer ratio texture for the wrap texture on the twigs. Just going to go in the normal bark folder and maybe take one of these guys out of our it's not as long. We're just going to use the generic one that comes with the actual birch tree. And see if that looks, and see if I can get a good blend from it. Now, as 2 very different colors, so we'll have to do some work on this to get it right. I'm going to drag and drop that onto the tree. And for some reason, that didn't work, so we'll just go to material and we will grab that same bark, and we're going to try to match now. So this is a nice tawny grayed out birch, and this guy needs to be toned down, and we're going to add a little bit of yellow into it just to get that up, and then we're going to add just a little bit of red just to get that pink color the same. You see the tones are just a little bit different now. And really zoom in, and it's passable. It's not great. It's a little glossier than this guy. So if you're matching barks, wow, my steering. If you're matching barks, you want to make sure that you've got the same values going on in here. As far as this should not be as glossy as it actually is right now, so we would want to bring down this value, and that's going to help blend these guys together. I think that since I'm sharing so many things on my screen, it froze a second for me there. All right, since we're zoomed in on this thing and we can see how hideous this weld is, this is a good chance to fix this guy. All right, now I'm pretty low poly, and if you go into scribe mode, this is a shining intersection, meaning it's really noticeable. It's on the first set of generator branches. So this is where I want my welds on in the tree. From here on out, I don't know if I need them. I definitely don't need them anywhere else in the upper canopy. And that would be in skin and welds. So whenever you get to the upper canopy, you turn welding off, and that's going to help you run faster and smoother and not waste any extra polygons. On this guy, I need a couple more polygons because this is not going to cut it for us. So we're going to go to segments. I got a question. Did I say LOD? I said skin tab. I've got people asking me questions. Sorry about that.
No, Sarah, that was related to something else in the chat.
Oh, okay. I was trying to figure out what was going on there. We just freeze. All right, back on track here. All right, our segment count in here. I want back up so you can see. I want less segments up here, but I want to concentrate them down here so I can do some cool things with noise and give this area a little bit more character. The first thing I'm going to do is kind of add some more into the weld. And we don't know to go overkill here. And one of the things I just made a mistake on is that you probably want to do your segment counts in high. And then you're going to go through and you're going to check and make sure that the medium and the low are still in a good place for you. So model in high when you're on this area of the tree. And then once you start getting to the upper canopy, you're going to notice that it's going to run slower and slower the more generators you add. And so when you get in the upper part of the tree, you want to model in the low resolution. And so before your final goes out, you'll switch to high to make sure everything's okay. I hope that made sense. This guy here, we're going to add a couple more segments. Now, this absolute versus relative in here, segment counts are much better to let the computer decide for you based on the length of the branch. So I lend heavily to the relative number of segments rather than having an absolute. When it comes to the twigs or things that I need to control pretty hard, I might use an absolute 2 and have 2 segments total, and some of those little guys up near the top of the tree. So I'm going to add just a few more in here, and I'm going to make the concentration of them a little bit lower down in the branch because I'm going to have some noise down here and not at the top as much. I actually might do something more like that. So I can space these out. Alright, so now I've got plenty of segments. I'm probably going to end up dropping some of those as I don't need them. I'm going to add just a few more radial segments in the absolute. And then I'm going to drop them down because we don't need them higher up in the tree. And so we've got something to work with now. Now, this guy here, we're going to go back to the weld and adjust that guy there in skin. I can offset it a little bit so it's not right up on there. And then we can spread out that bottom piece a little bit. Check the lighting on there. Oop, I didn't mean to double click, but I did. So we shot backwards and there we are. I don't like how squished together that pattern is looking, so I might go ahead and do some edits on there. Oh man. My feed is catching up to me there.
What's up?
It's hard to read comments and keep going at the same time, so I'll just leave that to Danny. Have fun. All right.
Yeah,
So
I'm having trouble keeping up too. It's fine. I'm getting feedback from the Slack chat that apparently I sound like Thanos or godlike, and I'm worried that's just my voice and not the microphone itself.
Oh yeah, we don't want to hear clicking or like random dog noises or anything. I don't know if you have a dog there today. SpeedTree is a dog company. We love dogs.
It's true. That'll be another stream.
I got a laugh out of that at least. All right, one thing I'm not seeing in here is you should not have a harsh line in your weld. So we're going to figure out what's exactly going on right here. We should have a little blend piece that's happening here. That's going to be your texture blend. And so I'm going to try to wiggle that and see if it shows up. And something is not going on there. I don't know where my blend piece is. I don't have a warning on this guy. Oh wait, I do. As I'm zoomed out. All right, one of the new things that you have in SpeedTree 9 are these little warning bubbles. Are a little bit more in your face, but they also point you to where a problem is. So you can click on this little guy if you don't see something happening correctly, and it's going to tell you exactly what you're doing dumbly. And for right here, this is telling me about feature vertices and split level. So nothing to do with the weld. I thought it was going to tell me my weld was bad, but apparently not there. So we'll keep working on that. If I can't get it to work now, then we are in beta. Bear with me there. All right. So I'm gonna concentrate on this shape, and we're gonna pretend that we have a blend piece right now because I don't know where it went. I wonder if my other branches have it. I gotta say, it doesn't look bad from back here, but we do want to fix that for later. I feel like zooming back, you can tell the color difference a little bit more as well. I also kind of want to do something with the UV here. Though I needed to tile twice in order to split, but the scaling of the V, I might stretch this out just a little bit just because we can get away with it. And I think that this texture is a little repeaty, and I kind of need to match the pattern down here to blend a little better. And it kind of looks just a little too bright still, so to me anyways. People will differ. People will say. All right. So we got the weld in better shape. I don't have a good picture of actual intersection on a tree, but they tend to have little black areas sometimes. We're going to the skin tab, and we're just gonna kind of play around with the bottom of this branch just a little bit. I'm gonna widen the bottom just a little bit and make sure this guy has some differences in it so that all of my welds don't look the same. So I'm going to add some variation to the lower scale. You can see that kind of happening up there. And then we can actually just do a little bits of these here and there, going to help it in the long run. And these branches look like wormy snakes right now. They don't have a lot of character to them. You can see some of the polygons, and we want to go ahead and shape these guys using displacement and give them a little bit more direction as far as what they're doing. So we're gonna go to displacement, and I do not have a displacement map loaded into this. We're just gonna use the regular noise pattern in here. I'm gonna push the displacement up a little bit more on the bottom of the tree, so this branch is kind of shaped down here. You can do some fun things. Just shape there. We can add some variation in there, and fine tune. I might put a little bit. See, I've got more polygons down here now. I'm gonna put some more bumps down here on the bottom. And I kind of want the scale on those guys to be really teeny tiny because I already have big bumps up here. And so I'm going to add just a little bit. I'm going to turn it down at the top of the branch. And we're going to make the scale a lot more. And I don't know. Let's kind of play with it a little bit. Get it where I want. Do some weird stuff with the curves just for Michael. And wonder if you caught that. Okay, the second thing we want to do, and I am definitely zoomed in on this one branch, but that's okay because there's only a couple of these main guys, and you want to get some cool shape in here. So that tree picture that I showed you, there's a curve pattern in here, and one of the things that I noticed in these tree branches is that they tend to have a little bump and then a relax. And so we're going to try to do that same shape in here with the noise. I'm going to go to spine properties, and we're going to be using path and late noise. I'm going to look at all of these guys at once. So if we turn on the late noise just a little bit, this is a nice smooth bump. Too much, too little. I'm going to use this guy and maybe turn the turbulence up a little bit. So they got that little nice bump in there. And then one of the things I like to do is get some movement in here and just kind of tilt this guy up. It's got like a nice little bump in there. And then I'm going to turn it off towards the tip of the branch. Two reasons for that. One, just to shake it up. Noise tends to send the branches up here a little bit more scattered, and we don't want the direction changing too much up there. And then I'm going to turn on just a little bit of gravity up here to get the end of the branch, not too much, a little bit. And we're going to use the curve to do it just on the tip of the branch. And you can actually crazy bring out those curves just if you want to drag it up like that. All right. Now that we have some funner bumps in there, we've got kind of a repeaty pattern here where we could do a little bit to shake it up, and so these guys don't look too much like each other. One of the things I like to use is path for that. You can draw on the path, the shape that you want the actual branch to go. And so for this one, I'm just going to make a swoop. This is strange. This is like a pattern in nature that happens a lot. I don't know what the official term for that is. I call it a swoop. We're
For
gonna
those
go
following
swoop.
along, that is another important SpeedTree vocabulary word.
Yes. I'm gonna make it abrupt. And we're going to actually put that path on these branches, and we're going to offset these guys so it uses the swoop at different points. And that'll kind of mix up what these guys are doing. It's very, very slight, very subtle. If I had a straight branch, you can see what the path is doing a little easier. Actually, just kind of want to rotate these now that I've got them in there. I feel like the may have rotated them too much and they're sort of aligned somehow again. You can change up the way these guys interact. I still feel like, you know, they put some spiral on there. Kind of got them all on the different sides of the tree now, not all on that one side. I fixed my problem. Okay. Now that we're getting up in here, the first thing we want to check, because we are getting higher up in the tree, is we want to check our segments really fast and make sure that we do not have an obsessive amount of segments for upper canopy, which we kind of do. We're going to go ahead and turn this down, and instead of taking less out of the length segments, I'm going to turn on a little bit of optimization. Sorry, properties, segments, turn in just a little bit, and it's going to try to take the polygons out where I don't need them. I'm also going to drop the radial segments down with the profile curve because I don't really need them towards the tip of the branch. We are modeling for back here. This is the distance between the tree. And so a lot of people will struggle with where to add polygons. A lot of artists just want all of the polygons all of the time. And I don't blame you, I like polygons too. But you really only need to add them when you see sharp angles, or if you're going to be this close to the tree. Like, that's not that pretty, but we're never going to be up in the tree that close. Okay, first thing I've noticed is that these kind of go a little wider than I expected. Sometimes it's hard to see the canopy shape that you have created, so I turn it around to the back. And so we don't want a scoopy tree like that, so we'll have to figure that out as they go. I'm going to go ahead and add a couple more of these mid-range branches. I'm going to change the generation style. It was on absolute 1. I'm going to put it on interval again. And I'm going to say I want 2. And it's going to make 2 branches across from each other, kind of parallel. And I want to use these branches as the main structure to fill and form my circular leaf areas. And so I added 2, and I know they're across there, but I'm going to use, I'm going to use the spiral to pull them around the different branches. We lost Danny. We don't know where he went. Hopefully he'll come back. We'll find out. Okay, so I'm making a fluffier upper canopy by spiraling these guys around. I don't want a whole lot of branches on the inside of my canopy, but I don't think we're too bad here. So I think if this guy, because I've got so much noise, if this guy was starting sooner, it might run into my main branch every now and again, but I think we're in the clear there. Something I like to do with the branches that are now starting to grow outward, is use ancestor to pull them towards the parent branch. So we've got the direction from these guys, and it's going to kind of listen to that if you push the end on there. I want the tip of it to listen, not the end. So I'm going to put this on linear growth. And now they're kind of all doing their thing there. And one of the things that in the tree, if you notice, there are, let me go back to this one, just because we do have gravity in here. This tends to grow up and out and then kind of droop back down. And then our leaves themselves actually kind of hang off the tree and use a lot of gravity. So our little tiny twigs are what we're going to get that gravity shape from. Yes, I reference the photo all the time.
Hey, Sarah, real quick, someone was asking earlier in the chat about being able to bring in reference photos. I was wondering if you could maybe demo that at some point, just to kind of show how to bring an image into the background. Is that something that you could do, or is that, are we not quite set for that?
Sorry, I missed part of that. How I referenced the photos?
No. How to bring in a reference photo directly in the background in SpeedTree.
Oh, sure. That actually only take a second. You can go to window properties and put the background style on either a stretched image, or I like letterbox because it makes it a little tinier. And then you can go ahead and select your image. You just need to save it to your desktop somewhere. And that's going to load it in the background there. I personally actually like, wow, Windows noises. I actually really like, I'm modeling on a solid dark color, because if I'm working on a white tree, it's just easier to see shape and color and stuff like that. I left it in ambient light because that's just what you're going to see most of the time. Does that help?
Yeah, I think that hopefully answers their question.
Okay. Why don't we just go ahead and leave this on the dark color, because it's just so much easier to see with this bark, and you can kind of see this whole structure that you're going for. It really is a lot of zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out when you're getting the base ready.
Yeah, the aesthetic is nice.
For sure. Actually don't know. We actually are over the hour we had intended to stream, but I'm just going to keep going because we didn't get very far. But it's because I talked a lot.
Yeah.
So. Oh, now everybody's excited about the slate background, so pretty good choice. Okay. I think that what I want to do now that I'm looking at this is actually make these start a little lower than I had originally intended. So we got that guy back in there. I don't hate it. And I think I actually made these guys a little too big at the top. I'm going to go back to my spine and kind of bring down the length of those upper branches. I actually want my extension long, and I want these guys to go down. So I'm going to put a point in there and kind of lower the guys in the middle and then bring my extension one back up. These guys I feel like should be pointing straight up. So at the top of the tree, I'm going to use gravity to grab my branches down there, and I'm going to pull those guys up. And I kind of wouldn't mind right now bringing these bottom ones, doing a little swoopy thing. Yeah, why not? I like to add a little bit of variation in gravity too. I think it adds a nice touch. I do this on that one, and I'm going to go ahead and grab branch 3, and my voice is getting scratchy. I can add a variation of gravity in there. Well, this is just kind of fun. Woohoo! Organic movement.
That's my dog.
Was that your dog?
If I don't talk to Arrow all day, he gets upset and then barks at me whenever he hears other noises.
Danny has a very cute dog who's also his sidekick named Arrow. So you got to
I'll
hear Arrow right now. So fun. I feel like artists at least have a cat or a dog or something. Artists should have companion animals. I'm going to take a sip of water really fast. And everybody in the world can hear me slurp. Alright, back on track. Alright, we get Not bad. We're gonna see what we look like now. We want to start making the fill branches that are going to hold all of the leaves. And so we don't want to get too overwhelmed. In a VFX tree, this is not that many levels up. In a games tree, you probably want to definitely not have that many levels up. But we have a lot more wiggle room here. We have so few polys. All right, so we're gonna add a set of twigs onto that guy. I'm gonna use the branch template for little twigs for these guys. There's actually a difference between little and twigs. I'm gonna use the twig one. And these guys have a nice spread to them, but the start angle right off the bat looks a little wrong to me. So I'm gonna go ahead and change that to point a little bit more towards the end, and then I'm going to use the curve according to the branch and say that I want those guys to open up a little bit down there. And we definitely don't want these to align. Now would be a good time to look at your tree and decide what the upper canopy. Now we've got some dog powers. We started the thread.
Yeah, we showed arrow.
We debated. We should just get our dog to sit in the window so that we.
Do you think you could show Cal and Gino?
Oh no, I'd have to lift them up the stairs to bring them up here. Both of my dogs are scared of stairs, so that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
All right, we want to. We want to start looking at the branch phyllotaxy. So for this, it's better to find a close-up picture of a branch. Let me see if I can zoom into this one because I don't think I found a great one. Apparently I didn't. This is really gnarly. Maybe Danny can find me one.
That'll be a side project.
We'll zoom into this guy. Oh, this is a nice high-res photo. I can totally do that. So, all right, we're gonna start looking at phyllotaxy up here and how these guys are put together. And by phyllotaxy, I wish I had broken down. If you look at one branch, you're gonna see that the little branches are not completely aligned with each other, and it looks like there's a pattern in here. It looks like there's two branches on either side, and they are alternating. So we're going to do the same thing with ours. This is where it's good to switch to phyllotaxy. Interval's totally fine for the same thing, but since we already used it, we'll switch just to show you. I'm going to put this on opposite because those two branches were opposite, and just because I can't say that word. I don't know what it means. And we're going to go ahead and focus on one of the branches. You're going to hit F on your keyboard. Getting silly now, I guess. And kind of zoom in here. And it's totally okay to work zoomed in. You just want to remember to back up every now and again and see what you're doing. Make sure you're not totally out of there for that. So, okay. The twigs we just added are these guys, and you can see that they are not quite aligned and they're on the same side of the branch. We are going to make these guys just a little bit longer because we need to get a lot of fill branches off of that, and I don't think that's too many. Right now I like to fill out and then we go from there. From here we want to add a little noise to them probably. And I'm going to use gravity ever so slightly on them. Ever so slightly, all the way. We'll do something like that. On the end of the twigs here, we can do a lot with curves. The trunk. Should have renamed it. You can, but we're going to trunk 2. And then say according to the trunk. Maybe like don't have these guys. And the reason I'm doing that is I want these to fill out and make fluffy, and I want the end of these guys. The key to isolate, I missed that. It's F on your keyboard. F as in frogs. Okay, so we've got some droopiness going on in here. I don't think we have the length of these guys quite right. So we really want longer branches on the inside and smaller branches, shorter branches on the outside of that. And that's gonna make a circle shape for this entire branch thing. I could use shape control on here, but I don't feel like it's very prominent on the tree. And sometimes this is just as easy to go ahead and manually make that shape with the branches. So I'm going to grab these guys and I'm going to spine, length, 2 lengths to choose from here. I'm going to do it from the percent of the parents so that these will automatically kind of adjust the farther up they do the tree. And I'm going to kind of grab, I'm just going to say according to that second branch there, I'm going to make the ones on the inside a little bigger. And I really have no idea why these guys are so wide open down here. I'm gonna fix my start angle there. I guess I did do that. I don't remember when I did that, but we're gonna maybe make that a little less extreme. That happens. All right, and we want our actual leaf holding twigs next. And one thing I didn't check with these twigs is to make sure that our our segment count is not crazy again, which is just something we do over and over and over again. It's really not too bad. We're gonna add another set of twigs. Oh, sorry, trunks, and then we're going to, branches, and then we're gonna go twigs. You can copy if you like are repeating the same pattern, which probably would have been a better idea for me just then. I'm going to take out some of the segments because these are my teeny tiny twigs, and so putting optimization a little bit more on these guys, and we really don't need that many regular segments. They're kind of flat is okay up here. And these guys are going to hold my leaves. We are going to stick with that same pattern and put violet taxi on and then put it on opposite. And I might end up having more of these. I'm going to put gravity just a little bit on these. And you'll notice the links. I'm getting some really teeny tiny ones in here, and we really don't want to do that. We want to go to spine and wipe out the variance in here for just a second so that we can get a better feel for it. It's because of that. I'm going to add in some absolute length. So I've got sort of the same repetitive structure going on there. You'll notice that branch died when I made it too long. And the reason for that is in the skin tab. We have these little safety measures on here, and it's saying that if it gets too long to go ahead and wipe it out. So if you're ever doing those controls and you don't know where your branches went, always check that to make sure that you don't have a setting in there that will cut those guys out. I'm gonna get rid of it for right now, just so that you can see. And we are gonna go ahead and get a leaf ready to put on the tree. First, went out.
Yeah, it seems like it's breaking up a little bit, but we're back now. We seem to be okay.
Okay. I don't know if
Oh wait, no.
missed
It seems like it is. There we go. It's back on Twitch. Okay.
Okay. I don't know what I did, or Twitch did something, but hopefully we're back in good shape. I can always pause. I just didn't realize that we were down for a second. Okay. So we want to bring in a leaf material. We're going to go up here to add, and we are going to go to our leaf folder, and we're going to go to Birch one. You could obviously use something that you purchased if you get something from Quixel, or if you made your own. These are the SpeedTree leaves that we're using, and looks like we're back up a couple places at once. Gonna grab my birch leaf. And the first thing I noticed is that blown out subsurface. All right. The first thing we want to do for the leaf material, since I've got it in there, is to make a cutout for it. So before I add leaves on the tree, before I do any PBR, we want to be able to see the leaf. I'm gonna hit edit. Oh, by the way, you have 3 tabs here now. That's a little bit different from the old version. Go in here. And you've got some new goodies in the leaf cutout editor too, which is pretty neat for V9. We have added a better, it's always going to show you can show the opacity or not show the opacity. And we're going to put our pivot point right on the end of the leaf right here. And we're aligning that. And this neat little thing was actually kind of a take on the older version of SpeedTree where you could pick the number of vertices that you want. I can say 7 and just try to get it to try. Wasn't liking that for some reason. I might need to restart my cutout because something was not working. That happens right there. We're gonna try this again. Birch cutout to edit the mesh. The cutout editor's not working. We've got some comments coming in. I will be right back.
Are you restarting the?
We're gonna try it on a leaf too. See if we get the same thing going.
Hey, this is the fun of doing demos on software that's still in alpha.
No pressure.
It's good. Yeah.
I'm gonna pull in a second leaf while we're doing that. All right. Let's see if we got working. So, there is a slight chance that I might need to restart from what I'm doing here. I wonder if the background image, the solid color, is actually messing with it. Let's try that, and then if that doesn't work, I might need to restart, and I will be back momentarily.
Yeah, Sarah's Michael's saying that you're going to need to restart.
Okay, it must be a known bug, and we'll get to that. So, if you guys give me just a second, you can talk to Danny while you're gone. I'm gonna put the.
Yeah. So I'll just answer a few of the questions in the chat while we're waiting. Let's see. Yeah, the cluster window, that's something we definitely are trying to address. But I think that's something that's in the works. I don't know if it's made it to the latest version of 9. Levity, you're asking about the idea of like a tree store where people can sell their trees. That's definitely something that we've talked about, that we've looked at doing. But I don't think we're quite there yet in being able to kind of moderate and support that kind of user interaction. That is one of the limitations of SpeedTree, that you can't resell trees. We definitely, don't want to limit people in terms of how they're using SpeedTree, but that is one of the kind of necessary restrictions that we have. But as soon as we kind of come up with a good way to kind of unleash that and let people sell SpeedTrees, whether it be for our store or whether it be on other people's store, we're definitely going to be excited to see what people do with it. But for right now, that's not something that we have available. And I think Sarah's back.
We're back. We're working now. Love those beta builds. All right, so let's go to that first leaf that we were on. That Birch leaf 2 is the one we brought in a second ago, and then Birch. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and create the cutout, and we have lines now, and that was the magic point there. We need those lines. All right, trying to show you all the magic here. You can just say that I want 7 and it's going to try its best to find them. Now, this is not necessarily a great fold area, so it did what I asked it to, but we're going to make it a little better. Gonna put the edge there, gonna put the pivot right on the edge of the leaf. And then I don't want to clip anything, so that was kind of outside there. I'm gonna put that guy there. Now, when you're making the leaf mesh, you don't want to click outside this box or you'll lose your work there. So we have all these save buttons here for highest resolution, medium resolution, and lowest resolution. You can always put that saved file back in there by using that. I'm going to put one in the middle here so that my leaf can fold. And the vertex lines that go across the leaf are going to help it curl. So the more vertices in there that make sense, help us get shape. And then if you put these guys in there without any meaning, if they just are cut across at random places, it actually changes up the shape a lot. I'm going to put a lot of verses in the high. I got a quick question there. I'm just going to keep going because I can't read that fast apparently. I'm going to put a lot of verses.
Keep going. I'll answer the question.
Okay. I'm going to put a lot of verses in here to begin with and then take them down for the other versions. I want this to be able to curl in the middle, so that extra one, I'm kind of deciding to spend it. It might be that I take it out later because we have too many polygons, but we're just going to try for looks first and then go from there. I'm going to save that guy out. And make sure I'm not... So when you have this guy in, these guys are connecting. You want to make sure you don't have a little sliver there. You want to make sure that guy hits and there's not a double line there. So sometimes you might have something like that and you would use the mask tool to get that vertex out. We don't super need that. We just need to make sure that we don't have tiny slivers in there. Great, so that should work for us. I didn't clip anything. Oh, I did have the angle of the not quite on the veining there. All right. And then I'm going to kill that guy and then save out my medium. And then I'm going to kill these side folds. And that's going to be my low. I could probably drop down more if I need to on the low later. Now we have a working leaf mesh to start going on from. So we are going to add a leaf mesh to the tree. We're going to go add, and this is going to add just one. And we want batched leaves for these guys, which is in default. My vision's going blurry apparently because I can't read anymore. I was looking for the... And all right, we are going to assign this. So we're going to go to material, and then that leaf that we just cut out was birch. One of the things you'll see there is that I don't have double-sided on yet. So we're going to go to the settings for this guy and say two-sided. And just real fast, just to stay organized, I'm going to rename this real fast to birch leaf 1. Ideally, you wouldn't have to rename these, but we're going to just fix that little bit there. Okay, and first things first is we have a lot going on here in this subsurface. It's got so much subsurface that it's pretty much wiping our color out. Like if you were to turn this off right now, you would see the color difference is just crazy because this map is white. So we want to tone this down a bit. We're going to actually... I don't have a lot of information in this map. Apparently the scan was just a little blown out, and so something that we can do to fix this is actually load in the color map for the subsurface. We're going to cheat a little bit, I guess. We can load it right into the subsurface amount again, and we're going to do something to it to make it a little bit more accurate. It's like night closure. So this is actually has the veining with more light shining through it. So what we're going to do is we're going to invert it. And this is actually a little bit more similar to more subsurface information that should go in. It's really hard to say the word subsurface several times in a row. My goodness. We're still getting a lot of light from that and a very saturated kind of blue color from the color map. The second thing we want to do is make sure that this guy is in the right range. I'm going to turn it to albedo check. And we are good on that. We can adjust this a little bit and make the veining pop just a little bit. Turn it back to the color map. I don't really like the color that it's reading as. I'm actually going to put a little bit of red in there just to make it a stronger green that doesn't read blue. And bring down that tip color just a little bit. And then our subsurface would be a little bit yellower and a little bit brighter than in real life there. You can test that by shining the light around. Man, these leaves are ugly so far. We'll try to fix them up. All right, so that's like kind of strong. I think we can go a little brighter on that just to make it a little contrast. Something that helps subsurface a lot is a just a gradient, like a global fade out there. I like to add those into the map sometimes. We won't do a lot of Photoshop work since we're live. It just would take a second. The AO in this guy, again, is pretty bright. I can bring it down a little bit or exaggerate it. We'll set the AO and get that a little later. All right, let's give these leaves some actual shape. Now they just look like weird cookies hanging out. All right, I'm gonna focus on one branch right now, just the one that the leaves are coming off of, which would be the little tiny guy. And just for orientation size. Okay, so my little guy's down here, and this leaf is still really, really tiny compared to the tree. The first thing I like to do is to figure out how many should go on the tree is to get the size of the leaf approximately right. And these will actually be bigger than real life, and it's just to fill up the space, and you can get away with that because you're down here looking up at it. So this is, you know, probably magnolia size leaf, but we can go a little bit bigger than we need to. I'm going to zoom back in. And then we want to get the phyllotaxy right on these guys. I'm pretty sure these are alternating leaves. We can go ahead and reference a picture if we need it. Of course, they're going to be really tiny. I thought I had a leaf picture. Okay, it's really tiny and kind of blurry. They're coming out from either side of the branch. I'm pretty sure they're alternating. I'm pretty sure I could Google it, but I don't know if I want to Google live. All right, and we want to put some more of these on the tree. So we are going to go, instead of absolute, we want to go to phyllotaxy, and we're going to put these on alternating. And then we're going to change up the length between them. Woo! And now we have sort of a frondy looking thing there. These guys, first off the bat there, I know that they need to be aligned a little bit. They're going to go towards the end of the branch, and then I'm going to use the curve according to the twig to make them a little spread out so they're not overlapping. So this is more like a green ash structure right now. I'm not quite reading the same way. The next thing we want to do is give them some shape. So we're going to go to skin, and we're going to fold them, and we're going to curl down. And obviously the thing about leaves is that you don't want them to all be doing the same thing. So we can really, really shake up the shape of this by adding that alternate leaf in there, and then by adding variables to pretty much everything in here so that these are all turning and facing the different ways. We're going to use twist a lot. And twist is going to twist like that. But instead of adding it there, we are just going to add variants in there that all twist different ways. And then in the orientation, we are going to make them face just ever so slightly differently and fold ever so slightly differently. Repeat myself. accidentally there. We want this leaf, because we are in high and I've got so many polygons in here, we can actually add a little bit of, excuse me, vertex displacement. So these have a different shape on each. And so I'm going to put just a little bit in there, maybe smaller amounts. And we're going to go ahead and back up and see what we look like on the full tree for a second. There's too much of a frond motion going on here, and the first thing that really is a dead giveaway is that these are fake leaves, is that they're all the same size. I want to go ahead and add some variance in here. I'm going to put favor outliers on because I've got more of the same going on there. I like to add cohesive variance on for some of these branches so that there's mimicry between each branch that goes on. So I'm gonna play around with that a little bit. I don't know if that made sense or not. And so we've still got some work to do. I think these are actually just maybe a little too long. And they still seem kind of big. So we are going to use a curve and kind of drop those down on the end of the twig a little bit. Add one little random section in there. And I'm gonna make the twigs a little shorter. I feel like now that I'm looking at them farther back, they're just a little crazy on some of them. Okay, so now we need a secondary set of fullness in there. So we've got twigs, and one of the easiest things to do is to add way too many twigs. So you want to get fullness in the upper canopy without adding, 40,000 twigs. And something we do often is add a second set of leaves. I just copying with Control-C, and I'm pasting. We've got our main guys here, and we've got these guys doing a down shape. So to get fullness in here, I'm going to add that same set of twigs to that upper twigs. But we're going to have these guys do something completely different that I would not be able to set on these guys. You really should try to get everything that you need in one generator. But when it calls for it, you can always come in here and add different motion there. So with these two twigs, I'm going to lift them up a little bit. So instead of doing the down gravity, I'm going to maybe turn them off and then maybe have the twig, the edge go down a little bit or something. Good shape. I don't want them to generate in the same spot, so I'm going to maybe add some more space between these guys. I'm going to make them a little longer. They look like worms. That was unintentional. I think I got a little too fancy with my gravity there. You can see this repeat shape a little too much. So we're just gonna nix it. I don't always do the right thing first. Gonna make the start angle a little wider on these guys. And I'm actually going to take out those leaves for just a second there and add the same twigs. I don't know if you guys noticed, but you guys have an entirely new generator layout now. You can switch back and forth. It's a lot more organized. It's going to keep your tree sections in different spots now. If you've got like a bunch, you can right click these things now and actually change the icon color. So if you want a hot pink tree, or a purple tree, you can organize this by color. It's kind of neat. Oh, and you can search for stuff now when you can't find stuff. There's a menu up here for, looking for noise. There's a favorite window too. So there's lots of new, easy, fast tools. I hope somewhere the developer is like, yes, the appreciated I needed for that very, very tiny thing that I added to the modeler, but Someone's excited about it. Okay, we got something that looks like a tree so far, but we still have not captured the essence of what's going on in the leaves. I'm gonna keep working on them. I guess I'm just talking. One of the things that's really killing it is the fact that they're all the same color. You can add the variant color in here, and we probably won't get to adding on all of the seasons. We'll probably do that in a different video that's just nothing but seasons and loading those in. I want to revisit the PBR though, because we are reading blue still and our gloss is very, very low. Gonna kind of come back in here, and there's just not a whole lot. So like right here, I'm not getting any detail from the tree, and that is because the normal map is so soft and light. Ideally, probably have a better, more pronounced normal map. But there's a couple of things you can do inside SpeedTree to make that look a little bit more realistic. I'm going to focus on a branch again, and we are going to, one, boost that normal map just a little bit, just to see if we can get something out of it. It's not bad, not great. This scan's a little bit uneven, so I've got some direction thing going in there, but we're going to be playing normals anyways, so it's probably not too bad. We are going to go to the lighting controls and make this leaf a little puffier. Just down here, I'm in skin. You use lighting controls a ton for games tree, but on a VFX tree, we really want to use these as part of the art. I'm gonna add parent preference looks at the branch that it's from. It actually has an anchor that you can see, so you can control what it's looking to. I really just want normal puffy for these because I don't really care for this which way they're pointing. I just want to add some roundness to the leaf. And that little area in there does not look so great because of this normal map. It's puffing this part that's bent. So if you show the normals, it's going to help you see what's going on in there. It's spiky. We're going just a little too much, so we're going to back down off of that control, and then that's going to help with that shadowing a little bit, but it gives it just a little bit. You can add some variation here so they're all doing something different. And really just don't like the colors we chose in here because they are reading too blue, so we're going to go ahead and make it a better green somewhere, like a true rich, very springtime green. Make this maybe a little yellower, and then turn that down just a little bit. And this subsurface amount, we can actually use this to get some of the veining and control in. Super saturated, like fresh out of spring. We're gonna contrast that just a little bit, maybe bring it down so we don't lose all that information. See, that's a little harsh. Not so much, nothing too crazy. And the veins in there are a little too black. This one really would benefit from the gradient added on top as well. All right, another neat trick to switch up the size of these guys. I still have just the one leaf on the tree. I'm gonna turn normals off because they're a little crazy looking. We want to play with the scale a little bit. These leaves are actually a little bit fatter and longer than they are on the actual tree, but adding some variation in here will help not just the size of the leaf, but help switch up the actual leaf shape a little bit better. And those simple things are just really what help hide. I think that what we're gonna do is use orientation and have the leaves at the end of the branches actually go to sky influence. So I'm gonna turn this up a little bit. And then on the end of the tip of the twig, I'm going to turn it down so these guys kind of have free reign for what they do. And from there, we want to maybe kind of look at it from up above and see how our patterns are doing. I think we can actually do with a few more twigs in here. These guys, go ahead and make them a little closer together. And we're gonna make these guys point in a little bit. And then these guys up here at the little twigs, we want to use Ancestor a little bit on them, I feel like, because they are just awkward. No one likes an awkward twig. There's not a lot of shape on these guys either, and they are pretty low poly. You can add noise on them, but I would suggest that the turbulence be kind of down low. So there's more of one bump in them rather than a bunch of small bumps, because that will send your leaves going off different ways. How you doing, Danny?
I'm doing good. Arrow is he's getting hungry. it's right about that time when right about 5 o'clock Eastern time, and he's just kind of getting ready for dinner, so he's just barking at me. So I'm trying to get him to calm down a little bit.
It's more of dinner time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we are coming up on a. We'll probably cut this live feed off at 5. And what we will do is what we did not finish today. We will just keep going on this tree. We'll go through everything with you. We're going to put seasons on here and get it completely in working order. And then we're going to take this exact same tree and make it a game tree. But there will be several different sessions of this for sure. See this really awkward branch right in here?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is, turn around and see what's going on in here. This is a too long branch with too few segments in it. And we're going to go to scribe mode to see that real fast. There's literally no length segments in this. And so for something that long, we want to fix that. These are just problem solving skills. Sometimes up in the twigs, I like to go ahead and have an absolute 2 because they'll be able to bend a little bit and have that in there. And this one's just such a skinny sliver, and you're not muted, so your typing is so loud.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Got a mechanical keyboard, it's.
I got. Questions just rolling in. We had. All right, I'm going to turn optimization on. Off. That is why I added 2 absolute segments and I'm not seeing them show up, and that's why I'm getting so awkward. I'm going to actually just turn it off for a second. And wow, all the polygons in there. We don't want those in there. These are teeny tiny twigs. That's just a waste of money. So we want to go ahead and take out the relative for a second and see how we're doing with 2. And then I think that we need to add a little bit in there just because they're not, we're pretty in the end of there. That will help us out a little bit. That's just still too many for twigs. Alright, that's not bad. We'll see how we're doing on the whole tree. We've got only 200,000, so it was a pretty small tree so far, but we have not added in all of our leaves. We've got a fullness thing that we're working on here. Let's look at the whole tree for a second. And so we've got some awkward things that we want to fix in here. First things first is I did not realize I made these things point up. I don't know if I really like that or not, so I'm going to fix those and put it back in regular regular mode. This is the most I've talked since COVID had started, so my voice is definitely not adjusted to people, real people.
Hey, Sarah, real quick. Someone just asked a good question. What's your poly budget for this tree?
What's my poly count?
Yeah, poly, like what kind of poly count are you looking at for the finished tree here?
Okay, this is a VFX tree. So if we're going by our library standards, our high resolution model, if it's a large broadleaf, tends to be like 3 million. We definitely don't have to use that many. One of the great things about the conversion tool is that you can super optimize these things. So this big tree here in the end, I would not feel bad if I went up to this honestly does not have, this is a pretty sparse tree branch and tree wise, and it's also not very tall. So I would like to keep this one under 1 million. Medium would be more about like 500,000, and then when we try to go maybe like 200,000 for the low. So we're not in bad shape. Oh, I must have been reading wrong because I'm at 500,000. I must have been selecting somewhere. I wasn't to see. I always do this at the end of the tree, but I click on each individual generator and I see where I'm spending these guys. So we do kind of get the shape down first, and then we want to go back and check our segments and make sure there's not something in there. So right off the bat, when I click those twigs, welding is off, and that's good. This is a good mount. That's fine. Just making sure that those are off for sure. It's a good check. It's also good to not get template happy and just start adding a bunch of templates in. Just make sure you're watching what you're putting into the scene so you don't suddenly have a 10 million triangle tree and you're running very slow. It will keep working. I've made some pretty high quality things in here, but we don't want to, like, you know, crash your computer or anything. This VFX modeler that I'm working in will export to Cinema 4D, Max, Maya, Houdini. What else am I forgetting? Totally answer.
Blender.
Yes.
Blender is an important one.
Yes. And it also will export to Clarice, and we have an additional Clarice engine product that's its own standalone thing.
Yeah, the compatibility, especially, it's important to remember that those are just the programs that we have a import script for, but really it will export to anything that can take an FBX or an OBJ. So if you're working in a custom program, just remember that it will export to that. On the game side, we'll export to UE4, Unity, or Lumberyard, and we also export FBX and OBJ over there too, in the indie or in our full games package.
Before I fix anything on the rest of the leaves, since we got that going on, I've got the stick straight thing going on with my main trunk. I kind of skipped straight to building here. I'm gonna go grab this guy and add a little bit of life back to it by using the path tool. I'm gonna go ahead and make it have a little forgot to push the draw button. That was a fun sound effect. I'm gonna add some little crinkles to it and maybe get some life going in it. I've got it pulled up pretty strong right now with the gravity. I might need to like relax that a little bit. And then I'm gonna go add some noise, late noise again, because early noise would make it go crazy fast. Do that, but I really don't want all of that. I just want that little bump there. That's a nice look. I'm gonna kind of like grab that and then grab the end of the tree back down, just to give it less of a stick straight boring thing going on there. All right, also, since we're in here, talk about things that make the tree look actually realistic. And right now, these branches are not cutting it, and I want to add some love onto them. So we are going to add broken branches and some knots and some things on there to make them look nice. And then we've got about 10 more minutes, so this is probably a good stopping point for the day. What we'll do when we pick up next time is work on the leaves. We'll put some seasons in here. We'll talk about seasons offsets to get color variations, and hopefully show you some more of the V9 features. Make sure that sounds like a good plan. So adding some short branches in here and things to make this actually look like a tree and not just like a tube. We want to go to templates and add, we've got built-in decorations. These are fun to use and everything, but I'm just gonna start with a bunch of branches. I'm gonna use the bifurcating one because they're gonna come off where I've added noise, and I'm probably gonna have too many of them to start, but that's okay. We're going to change the length up on this to very, very, very small. I don't want % apparent for that. I just want absolute nubs. We're creating the nubs, and I want these to not extend. That's off. That's good. We're going to add a cap to the end of this. Which I had to remember where it was when it's sitting there in front of my face. We want these to be very different sizes. We're gonna go ahead and skin and put this way up. And you'll see there I don't have enough polygons on the branch, so I'm getting a weird triangular, looks like some sort of weird cheese. Let's go ahead and add some radial segments in there. Oh, sorry. They used to be there, and it throws me every time I go to do the slider and it's the wrong spot. This is actually a really cool feature that we've got where you can add polygons now to a specific area so that you can sculpt. And I'm going to go ahead and add just a few more to get that cap out. We're going to shape that cap. Cap needs some polygons too. Go in there with the radial and the lip. And we want to add a lip on this guy just because it's just not looking so great right now. And we're going to pump that up a little bit so there's another layer, and then slope him maybe. I can make these look kind of like they're broken off there, and we don't really need a texture to put in here. One of the cool things about the new conversion tool is that if I see something on here that I want to use as a knot, so let's say I wanted to take this texture here out. I could actually set up one of those guys, and then I'd have a text material for that knot area. I would add a second mesh converter to the mesh. And then I would take my bottom, hold down T, place it on the trunk where I need it, grab the top, which is way up here. That's why I couldn't find it. Hold down T, place the top, and I need it not where I placed the top. I need to grab that again, grab the B, and I'm gonna make a little square texture just right here real fast. I don't need a band on this at all. So I really just want to crop it down to this. That's all you need for a knot. You don't need it to wrap or anything. So I'm just going to disable the band because I don't need it. And we are going to, you know, it's in a fine spot. I don't need to really adjust the clearance or anything. I'm just going to grab it really fast. I don't need this texture to be very big either. So we're just going to send out a tiny one, and we're going to make that a new material. And we're just going to call, I'm in the bark holder, we're going to call this knot 1. And it's going to be rectangular, and so what you would do is actually just take it into Photoshop real fast and slice it down to just use that knot area. We're gonna slap it on there just to see what we got. All right, it should have shown up here. We're gonna go back up to our broken, there it was, let me go up higher enough. Drop that knot on. And ideally, if I had gone in here and chopped this out in Photoshop, I would have this little section here. I could pump the normal up a little bit if I want to do some custom work in there to make it look more, right now, a little messy, but we will work on that probably next week because I think we are running low on time. And that is how far we made it today. I think we did okay. Probably could go a little faster if I didn't have to think and talk and swim around at the same time. I thought we would be much farther here.
It's always faster if you don't have to think. If you can just like let it flow.
We should have one that's pretty much just like speed building. I'm gonna race.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have like Danny building in one building in one window. Have someone else.
Mine would be so much slower, Sarah. You're so much faster than me. I would have to look at your screen to remember how to do certain things.
We can accept the challenge. We'll have challenge takers. Just kind of fill your name out, send us an email. But we are trying to break down exactly what we're doing. It's been fun, and I think that is it for today. I also have, if you guys want to check out the V9 video, I can play that for you now in the live stream, or you can go check it out with the link that we've got posted.
Before we get to that, are there any more questions in the chat that we can answer?
Yeah. I was trying to scan and see if I'd missed any questions that I can answer before I go.
Yeah, let me check the Twitch real quick, see if there's. Let's see. Some questions that we had is how often we'll be doing these sessions and when the next one will be announced. We will be probably announcing the next one and kind of a schedule for these things next week, probably on Monday. This is pretty new for us, so
Yes.
We're still kind of experimenting with the formats. Let us know what you guys like and what you didn't like, and we'll try to make it a better tree experience for you. But we'll probably try to do this probably once a week is what I'm thinking. And you can keep an eye on our Twitter, Facebook, everything like that. And we'll make sure you guys are aware of it. We'll probably have it on our monthly newsletter as well. Let's see. Someone else said, do you have any tips to add details to the final levels? Usually the twigs connect to the leaves take too much polygons and not good enough for a close-up.
That is, so when I was talking about our distance between modeling, typically when you're dropping this in a scene to get rendered out, you're thinking about fill trees. So this would be a tree that would be about right here distance-wise. When you're doing a specific shot, or when this branch will be framing a area where you need it, instead of putting less polygons in the end branches like I did, this is typical workflow, is that we try to keep polygons out up here. You would spin them a little differently. So we would end up putting more polygons up here, and our trunk is actually not the part in the shot, or maybe it is. We have to be creative about where we take those from. A lot of what you'll see, we'll go over this a little bit once we get this all filled, but offsets are something that let us place fine details and segments out here. We might have the nice mesh on the outside of the branch here, and then on a really dense tree I don't need polygons on the inside, so I would end up either pruning out the interior and having the outside full so you can't see that there's stuff missing in here, or just offsetting those segments so that there's ugliness on the inside of the tree and then pushing them out. So we'll definitely work on optimizing this a little bit better as we keep going. It's still in its very scraggly teenage tree years, I think. This is not a finished product so far. So yeah, a lot of what people will do they'll make a really nice branch that, like, they'll make their tree and then make a file that is literally just a branch with fine-tuned details. Not unlike the sample file that you get in the growth folder of Modeler, where we just have one branch hanging with seasons. We've got all kinds of little nubs and things going on there. And they'll stick just the branch in the foreground of the scene so it frames in the shot. So that's something people do. I hope that answers And I'm kind of scanning to see if there's anything else. We are going to do the trees interacting with each other. We're going to cover things like vines crawling over something, and then branches interacting with each other, and like the next one probably coming up. We will try to put a schedule up probably so that we can cover everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are so many things to cover. It's gonna be hard, but we'll work out something, and we appreciate you guys' enthusiasm and feedback. And yeah, thanks for being tree nerds with us. We'll be back soon with more trees.
Yeah, we were really grateful for everybody that showed up to watch. So thank you guys. That's it for now, I guess. We will see you when we continue this, and thank you very much.
All right.